There comes a moment in life when you look around and realize that no one is coming to save you. Not your friends, not your partner, not even the people who said they'd always be there. And that moment, as painful as it is, can become your greatest power. Because once you understand that your peace, your strength, and your happiness don't depend on anyone else, you become untouchable. You stop chasing people who won't text back. You stop waiting for apologies you'll never get. And you stop bending just to keep others from breaking. What if I told you that the very thing you think you need, love, approval, attention, is exactly what's keeping you weak? That's where Stoicism comes in. Not as a trend, not as a philosophy you read once and forget, but as a mindset that rewires how you show up in the world. A way of thinking that teaches you this one truth: you don't need anyone to be whole. That's not bitterness, that's freedom. And I know hearing that might sting a little, especially if you're going through something right now, a breakup, loneliness, rejection. But what I'll share with you today could genuinely shift how you see relationships, solitude, and your own self-worth forever. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you liked the video, so you can help me continue spreading knowledge. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and activate the bell, so you don't miss any future videos on Stoicism and self-improvement. Now let's take a closer look at what Stoicism really is, and why it's not about suppressing your feelings, but mastering them. So what exactly is Stoicism, and why does it matter in today's world? Most people hear the word Stoicism and immediately think of some cold, emotionless monk, staring at a wall all day, pretending nothing bothers him. But that's not Stoicism. Not even close. Stoicism isn't about becoming a robot. It's about becoming unshakable. It's a mindset that teaches you to respond, not react, to own your emotions, not be owned by them. At its core, Stoicism is simple. Focus on what you can control and release what you can't. Everything else, the past, other people's behavior, your ex's silence, that co-worker's attitude, it's noise. You don't need to ignore your feelings. You just don't need to be ruled by them. That's the difference. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not detachment, that's discipline. Another Stoic, Epictetus, was born a slave, and yet, he said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about them." In other words, life doesn't hurt us, our reactions do. Think about that. You can be ghosted, betrayed, ignored, rejected, and still choose peace. That's what Stoicism gives you, not numbness, but power. And this isn't about pretending things don't matter. It's about building the kind of inner strength where things don't control you anymore. Because once you realize that the storm is happening outside, but calm is possible inside, you become a completely different version of yourself. Stoicism trains your mind to ask one question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, you let it go. Simple? Yes. Easy? Not at first, but life-changing? Absolutely. Now that you understand what Stoicism really is, let's talk about one of the biggest lies we've been sold: the belief that we need someone else to feel whole. We've all been told we need others to feel complete. But what if that's the biggest lie of all? We grow up hearing it everywhere. You complete me. Find your other half. You're nothing without your people. It sounds romantic, poetic even, but the truth, that mindset is a trap. And Stoicism helps you escape it. Here's something no one tells you. Needing someone to feel whole isn't love. It's emotional dependence, and dependence always leads to pain, because anything you depend on can be taken away. Think about how often we let our emotions rise and fall based on someone else's actions. They text you back, you feel amazing. They leave you unread. Suddenly, your whole day's ruined. They don't notice your effort. Now you're questioning your worth. That's not a relationship. That's a roller coaster. And you're not in control of the ride. They are. Stoicism teaches you to get off that ride. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you stop needing people to validate you. Seneca said it perfectly. He who depends on others for his peace will never find it. Let that sink in. Your peace isn't supposed to come from people, it's supposed to come from you. And sure, connection is beautiful. We all want to be seen, heard, loved. But the moment it turns into need, the moment your emotional survival depends on someone else, you've handed over the keys to your well-being. Stoicism hands those keys right back to you. Imagine this, you're in a relationship. One day, they pull away a little, not because of you, but because life gets busy. And instead of spiraling, you stay grounded. Why? Because your happiness wasn't built on their attention. It was built on your mindset. Or maybe a friend ghosts you, no explanation, no closure. And instead of begging for answers, you let go, not out of spite, but strength. This is what Stoicism looks like in real life. Not reading quotes all day, but living them. When you stop needing people to make you feel whole, you stop settling for half-hearted relationships. You raise your standards, not out of ego, but self-respect. And that's when something amazing happens. You become magnetic, because the person who doesn't need anyone, who's already enough on their own, is the person others are drawn to. But here's the irony. By the time you reach that level of peace, you're no longer chasing anyone to begin with. You're simply free. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like your happiness was in someone else's hands? Now, let's go deeper into what real emotional independence looks like, and how Stoicism teaches you to master yourself, not the people around you. Here's how you stop depending on others emotionally, and start mastering yourself instead. Most of us have never been taught how to stand emotionally on our own 2 feet. We're taught how to make money, how to pass exams, how to dress to impress. But no one teaches us how to sit alone with ourselves and still feel full. That's where Stoicism steps in, not with shallow advice, but with real tools for emotional independence. Emotional independence doesn't mean you cut people off, stop caring, or isolate yourself. It means you stop making other people the source of your identity and start becoming whole on your own. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's the truth. If your peace can be stolen by someone ignoring you, you're not free. If your happiness disappears every time someone doesn't react the way you hoped, you're not free. Freedom starts when you decide, I'm not outsourcing my emotions anymore. That doesn't mean you won't feel pain. Of course you will. You'll feel sadness, disappointment, and even heartbreak. But instead of drowning in it, you'll sit with it. You'll own it. And then you'll move through it. Here's a quick example. Let's say you message someone. You're excited to hear from them. Hours pass. Nothing. The old you would have spiraled. Did I say too much? Are they mad? Am I not good enough? The Stoic you. You breathe. Remind yourself, this isn't within my control. And then you continue living your life. That's emotional independence, not because you're cold, but because you refuse to be controlled. And it's not easy, especially when you care deeply. But the power comes in that pause, that small space between stimulus and response. That's where freedom lives. Let me be real with you for a second. I've felt that gut punch too. That silence after pouring your heart out. That sinking feeling when you realize they've moved on and you're still stuck on rewind. But Stoicism doesn't ask you to deny the pain. It teaches you how to carry it without letting it carry you. It helps you reframe those moments. Instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" And that shift, that's how you stop being a victim of life and start becoming the author of your own story. So if you're in a season right now where you feel alone, I want you to remember this. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're being rebuilt. And every time you choose your peace over chasing someone, you're leveling up. How do you personally handle emotional setbacks? Let me know in the comments. Next, let's explore a common fear people have about Stoicism. The idea that detachment means becoming cold or distant. But the truth is very different. You don't have to shut down to protect your peace. Here's how to detach without going cold. Let's clear something up right now. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become cold, heartless, or numb. That's a huge misconception, especially when people hear about Stoicism for the first time. They think it's about being emotionless, when really it's about being emotionally stable. Stoicism teaches you to feel everything, but be owned by nothing. You can love someone deeply and still not depend on them for your peace. You can be fully present in a relationship and still know that if it ends, you'll be okay. That's what healthy detachment is. It's strength, not indifference. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." He didn't say to never feel. He said, don't let those feelings rule you. Let me give you a real example. Say someone you care about is pulling away. You notice the distance, the conversations get shorter, the replies slower. The old you would panic, overthink, maybe even chase. The Stoic you pause. You don't ignore the feeling. You acknowledge it, but instead of begging for clarity, you create it within yourself. You remind yourself, I don't own people, I only own my response. And then you act from a place of strength, not fear. That's detachment. I had a moment like this myself, where someone I was close to started to drift. And yeah, it hurt. But instead of reacting with desperation, I sat with the discomfort. I asked myself, why am I so shaken by this? The answer was clear. I had tied my self-worth to their attention. That realization, it was freeing. From that point on, I made a rule: love people freely, but never cling. You can still show up, still give, still care. But when it's time to let go, you let go with grace. This mindset doesn't make you cold. It makes you calm. It doesn't turn you into a wall. It turns you into a mountain. People can come and go, and you're still standing. That's what Stoic detachment is really about. It's not turning off your heart. It's protecting it with wisdom. It means choosing people from desire, not desperation. It means being rooted in your own peace, so nothing they do can shake it. You can hug without holding on too tight. You can say goodbye without falling apart. You can love without losing yourself. And that right there is real power, because when you're whole on your own, every connection becomes a gift, not a need. It's a beautiful place to live from, and Stoicism helps you get there. Now, Let's talk about how to actually build this mindset, step by step, so you become the kind of person who thrives no matter what life throws at you. Let me show you how to actually build a Stoic mindset, one choice at a time. So how do you actually build a Stoic mindset? How do you go from overthinking every message to calmly observing life without letting it destroy your peace? It's not magic, it's practice. Like anything powerful, it's built one brick at a time. The first step, awareness. Start noticing where you give your power away. Is it in a text you're constantly waiting for? A like on social media you feel addicted to? The approval of someone who barely sees your worth? Catch those moments, not with shame, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, why am I letting this control how I feel? That's Stoicism. It starts with watching your mind, not judging it. Next, practice voluntary discomfort. Sounds weird, right? But hear me out. Stoics used to sleep on the floor, go without food for a day, walk in the cold without a coat. Why? Because they knew that comfort makes us soft, and we don't grow in soft places. You don't have to become a monk. Just do small things that remind you. You can do hard things. Wake up earlier than you want to. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of drive. These tiny acts of discomfort build a mindset of strength. They teach your brain, I don't need easy to survive. Then journal, not fluffy journaling, not Dear Diary stuff. I'm talking about brutally honest self-reflection. Write down what triggered you, what you feared, what you learned. Ask, was this in my control? If not, write it, accept it, let it go. Marcus Aurelius journaled daily. His book, Meditations, was never meant to be published. It was just his way of staying mentally sharp. And here's the crazy part. Those private thoughts are still changing lives today. That's the power of self-awareness and the written word. Another tool, saying no. Most people struggle with this. They say yes out of guilt, out of fear, out of wanting to be liked. But every yes to something that drains you is a no to your peace. Say no kindly, but firmly. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly. No is a complete sentence, and when people react, let them. Their disappointment is not your responsibility. Your peace is. Now let's talk about reframing. This is the art of choosing a better meaning for what happens to you. Someone insults you. Instead of thinking, they disrespected me, I'd think, they're hurting, and I don't need to absorb their pain. Traffic jam. Use it as a moment of stillness instead of frustration. That's how Stoics lived. They didn't pretend. Life was perfect. They just refused to let the chaos enter them. They became the calm in the storm, not by escaping the storm, but by becoming stronger than it. And if you really want to go deeper, face what you fear. Have that uncomfortable conversation. Ask that scary question. Admit what you've been avoiding, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what matters even when you're afraid. And that's what Stoicism is all about. Not perfection, but progress. It's not about never getting hurt. It's about becoming someone who doesn't break when they do. If you need people to stay sane, you've already lost. That quote might feel heavy, but it's real. The strongest version of you doesn't need people, but still chooses to love them. Doesn't chase comfort, but creates growth. Doesn't react impulsively, but responds intentionally. That's what we're building here. So now I want to ask you, which Stoic practice do you want to try starting today? Comment below. I'd love to know. Now that you've got the tools, Let's take a look at what life feels like when you're finally free from needing anyone else to be whole. So what does life actually feel like when you're no longer attached to anyone for your sense of worth, peaceful, light, unshakable? Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've stopped clinging. That's the shift Stoicism creates. When you let go of attachment, something powerful happens. You begin to love people more freely. You're no longer afraid of losing them because you've stopped believing they complete you. And that gives your relationships room to breathe. No guilt, no pressure, no desperation, just real presence. You show up with love, not expectation. You give, not because you're scared of being left, but because it's who you are. That's real freedom. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery isn't just about fighting battles. It's about facing life with open hands, not clenched fists. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean you stop loving people. It just means you stop being owned by your fear of losing them. You realize that their actions, their words, even their absence, don't define you. Only you do. And when that sinks in, when you finally stop needing closure, approval, or reassurance, you move differently. You stop waiting. You stop overthinking. You stop begging for energy that should have been offered freely. There's a story I always remember. A man deeply in love gets left without warning. He's shattered. Everything in his life revolved around her. His identity, his routine, his sense of self, and in the silence that followed, he finally asked the right question. Who was I before I needed her? And that question, that saved him, because sometimes losing someone is how you finally find yourself. That's what Stoicism invites you into. Not a life without love, but a life without chains, where you can walk away from people, places, or situations that no longer align with your peace, and not crumble in the process. It's not about being heartless. It's about being whole. You no longer chase, you no longer settle, you simply choose. And if it aligns, you welcome it. If it doesn't, you release it with grace, with strength, with calm. And that version of you, the one who can let go without resentment, that version is rare, that version is powerful, because most people are afraid to be alone. But when you're no longer afraid of solitude, you become free to connect from truth, not need. You don't demand, you don't attach, you don't force. You trust that what's meant for you will come. And if it doesn't, you still win, because you're already complete. You don't need to be cold to protect yourself. You just need to know who you are without anyone else telling you. You don't need to be heartless, you just need to be whole. And now that you know what that kind of freedom looks like, let's wrap it all together with one final reflection. And a soft reminder of what you're capable of. If you've made it this far, you already know something most people spend their whole lives avoiding, that you don't need to be in a relationship to feel loved. You don't need constant validation to feel worthy, and you definitely don't need anyone else to give you permission to feel whole. That permission, it's been yours all along. Stoicism isn't about shutting down your emotions. It's about becoming so emotionally grounded that no one else can shake your foundation. You'll still love. You'll still feel, you'll still care deeply, but you won't beg, you won't chase, you won't break. Because the version of you that knows how to stand alone is the version that can finally connect with strength, not survival. And no, it's not easy. Some days will still feel heavy. You'll still want that call, that message, that comfort. But now, you'll catch yourself, you'll breathe, you'll remember who you are, and that right there is growth. That's emotional freedom. Tell me in the comments, which part of this message hit you the hardest? Was there a moment in your life when you realized you were depending on someone else for your peace? I'd love to hear your experience. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future insights on Stoicism and self-improvement. Because this journey of learning how to master your mind, your emotions, and your peace is just getting started, and I'll be right here walking it with you until next time. Stay grounded, stay powerful, and remember, you already have everything you need right here.